I'm Marcy Marcusa, and welcome to the podcast. This is Manitoba. We have been talking a great deal about tariffs, also about the U.S. trade war with Canada, and there's so much movement in this story all of the time. But we thought that today on the podcast, it will be interesting to look at all of this through the lens of people who are on the other side of the border. So that's what we have coming up on the podcast today. We're going to talk to a farmer who's in North Dakota about his concerns about the tariffs and the long list of the tariffs that the United States President Donald Trump has announced. He has a list of countries, over 180 of them, that will be facing tariffs. Canada and Mexico exempt from that list. But still, obviously, we have some tariffs on cars, and also on steel and aluminum that are still in place. So we're going to talk to that farmer. But we do begin with a couple from Manitoba who also is on the other side of the border. This is Manitoba. So their names are Betty and Ross Reinhardt. They're Manitobans and they're snowbirds. 9 years ago, the Manitoba couple bought and redesigned a home in a gated community in Mesa, Arizona. It was always their dream to spend their winters down south. But now they say that the political situation in the United States has led them to put that home up for sale. Up first on the podcast, a conversation I had with them from their home in Arizona via Zoom. I don't know who wants to answer this, but I mean, how tough was this decision for you two?
Tough.
What did
Very.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, we really don't want to go, but we feel like we need to because we're just getting more and more uncomfortable. Not with our friends here at all. It's when we leave our gated community that we start to get a little nervous.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to have a great many American friends as well as Canadian friends. However, I'm fortunate that the hospitality situation somewhat changed here over the trade tensions. We would like to leave here on a positive note, knowing that we've had a great many good times and good friends, and keep that if we can.
So tell me a little bit more, Ross, about what you mean by, the hospitality seems to have shifted and changed. What kinds of things have you either experienced yourself or heard from other Canadians?
Right. So we've been very fortunate not having to directly experience it yet. But we have good friends that have had a couple encounters in parking lots because, of course, we have Canadian plates on our cars. So that we can be singled out relatively easy. And usually it's nothing physical or anything like that, but usually sharp comments, it's time for you to leave, or you can go anytime you want, north is your way home. Those are the kind of things that are coming around now.
Putting it nicely. You're putting it nicely.
Okay, so you said, Betty, he's putting it nicely, so maybe some sharper language, so something that's things that are making people feel a little bit like legit nervous.
Yeah, I do have a friend that went to the grocery store just outside our gated community twice last week, and she was stopped by someone and asked if she was Canadian, and when she said yes, they had less than nice things to say to her.
Okay. Are you the only ones have you heard from other Canadians down there that you've been there 9 years? You're talking about your community and you have, there's people down there that you know and also have homes. Are other people considering selling, or have they pulled the trigger like you guys to do it?
Well, a few have pulled the trigger and have listed their homes already. Others are now talking about it and deciding when they should do it and trying to figure things out.
And others are choosing to weather the storm, hoping that it is simply a storm and it is going to eventually blow over, which it very well may. We just don't see it blowing over anytime soon. And we prefer not to spend the next 3 or 4 years of our lives waiting for it to blow over.
How quickly did this shift? Because at first sort of, was this right when Trump came into office? Was this around the trade war? Like, how quickly did you guys start feeling like, wow, maybe this is serious and we'll have to think of selling, to, okay, this is happening out there and we need to sell? I'm just curious, how quickly did it amp up down there, Betty?
I think shortly after the inauguration.
Well, yeah, shortly after, I guess it was.
When the tariff talk started, right?
When all the tariff talk started and the retaliating and this and that, and the whole world started getting involved in it,
Yeah, we started to
And
grow concerned.
we just started to grow concerned, and we started thinking, how is this going to work out while we're here
Got
in the
it.
wintertime?
So a little bit. So a little bit
Yeah.
of build at the beginning of inauguration, and then when the tariffs hit. We're now seeing on YouTube photos of your beautiful home down there. I just want to talk about the fact that this is an investment. When Manitobans, any Canadians think about being snowbirds, you've thought about this, you've dreamt about this. Oh, there you are in a beautiful golf course. I mean, what are you going to do now, Ross? I mean, obviously you were lucky enough to be able to move your property and sell it, but what are you going to do in the winter?
Well, that's just it. There's a few considerations, of course. Either buying or renting in Mexico is one of them, pursuing that warmer climate. But for now, nothing's carved in stone, but that's certainly one direction we're considering.
Yeah. Did you take a loss on your investment down there? Because you obviously did some renovations. I was looking at a space that was quite lovely and shiny and new.
Some of it.
Yeah, the saving grace is when we did buy this home, it was in dire need of updating. So we put a lot of work into this house on our own and made it our home.
So you didn't take a loss, you were saying there. Sorry, it just got cut off.
Well, I'm not sure if we'll take a loss or not.
We're not sure until it sells.
Oh.
Yeah.
Of course, pardon me. I'm mixing up the fact that you put it up for sale this week, not sold it yet.
Oh, we did. Right. We did.
Yeah.
We have it up for sale. Yeah, we haven't sold it yet. The listing just went live.
Yeah. What's your reaction, Ross, from your American neighbors and friends down there since you put the home up for sale?
Our American neighbors and friends are nothing but kind to us. They
don't want us to go.
There's apologies being made. For the most part, we all know each other's families. We have a great sense of security or community, rather, that we're going to sadly miss.
Did you face any pressure, Betty, from family or friends here in Canada to sell, to make your decision?
Not at all.
So it's just purely based on what's been happening?
Yeah, I mean, our friends have still come down to visit us over this winter. Others have canceled because they just didn't want to come down. They just weren't comfortable with coming down here. So it's unfortunate, and we don't want that to get even worse.
Just as a last question, Ross, could you have imagined this, given sort of the free and friendly nature of what we've had between the two countries over these years? You've lived down there for part of your life for 9 years here.
Could never have imagined it. No. We all of our lives. I mean, we've traveled back and forth freely. There's never been any grief, and here we are now, made to feel so uncomfortable that we have to actually pick up and go.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see you when you cross the border and get home. Thank you both very much for being with us this morning, especially to talk about something that's so personal to both of you. So thank you very much. We're grateful. That's Manitobans Betty and Ross Reinhardt, who put their winter home in Arizona up for sale this week. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Manitoba is the name of the podcast. Thanks for being with us today. We always like to look at an issue on the podcast and get into it in a number of different ways. And as I made mention off the top of the podcast today we thought it would be interesting to have our guests all be down south. So the first couple may have been from Manitoba. The next guest on the podcast lives in the States. As President Donald Trump announced this new list of tariffs that included more than 180 countries, Canada and Mexico weren't on the list, but Canada's retaliatory tariffs are still in place. So we've talked to so many businesses and people and organizations that will be impacted that we wanted to touch base with farmers. We've heard from here in Manitoba farmers that have some concerns, but what does that look like in America, in the States? Bob Kylan is Vice President of the North Dakota Farmers Union. He says the tariffs could be detrimental to the future of agriculture overall. Here's my conversation with him.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing down south with all the tariff situation? What's the impact going to be like?
It's kind of scary. Just him talking about it for the last month. Our wheat prices have been down 90 cents a bushel, and corn and soybeans over 50 cents a bushel down. So it's had impact before he's even done it, and we just wish he wouldn't be fighting with food all the time, and we should be eating well instead of fighting fighting with our food with all our friends and neighbors to the north and the south of us, especially.
You have quite an example that's a really concrete example, I think, for listeners about if you wanted to take something about how the steel tariff could affect you between Canada and the States and how much money that would mean for you. Can you outline that for us?
Well, in North Dakota, we farm a lot like you do in Canada. We do a lot of no-till farming, and our friends to the north have some great no-till drills. And if you buy one for $1 million and you go up to get it to come across the border, you'd have to put out another 25% for the tariff for the steel. So you would be adding another $250,000 to your drill to get it across the border, and that's a heck of a hit.
So tariffs obviously are going to be a big issue for you. On top of that, I know you guys have been facing some drought. Is that right?
We got some rain for the first time last night, measurable rain in a long time. So we've been missing it. It's really dry down here. We didn't even know if we were going to have enough moisture for the seed to come up if we put it in.
For context here, Bob, what's the average age of a farmer in the States? Like, is facing this kind of a crisis at this stage of their life?
Well, the biggest thing is it's 60 years old, and that's a point I want to get across. If we don't do something in agriculture in the next 10 years to make it better for people to be able to farm, we're going to lose control of our food systems to corporate America, who will tell you how much you're going to pay for your food.
Are you already seeing farms close? That's also quite a big stat, I understand.
Yeah, foreclosures are up 50%. It's not good because us guys who are in our 60s already, we have just about everything paid for, and we're not making any money. The people who have a huge debt load, and they're taking the huge hits now, and it's not looking good.
How are Trump's tariffs on China and Mexico affecting farmers out where you are?
Well, 50% of our soybeans go to China. Mexico, and between Mexico and China, 50% of the corn goes there. 60% of our export wheat goes to Mexico. Over 50% of our ag exports go to China, Canada, and Mexico. So it makes a huge difference in us trying to move ours. And then he went and took on the whole world. So that took all our markets if we don't have a trading agreement with them.
And that's, I think, one of the things, like this morning, in Canada, we're talking about, what are the other markets? But as you're saying, you're looking for other markets. You have a list of over 180 countries where there's tariffs everywhere around the world. So where are you going to look? I want to revisit the stat that you said right off the top of our conversation about potash. Is it 90% of the potash comes from Canada? Can you sort of outline that for us and what tariffs mean in this regard?
The United States imports 97% of its potash, and 90% of it comes from Canada. Well, most fertilizer plants are full of potash right now, and people put it on for this year's crop. But if this drags on, it's going to have a huge effect next year on potash. And one of the big things with raising corn is using potash. So there's a lot of acres in the United States that use potash. I don't know the numbers of the tons that come down from Canada, but it's substantial.
Where do you go, Bob? Like, who else has potash like that could fill the gap, speaking of other markets?
Oh, that's the sad thing, is a lot of people don't think about what we need to do in our future. They just do a knee-jerk reaction to try pulling something off, and there's huge ramifications to the agriculture community doing that.
What kind of response are you hoping to see moving forward from both the U.S. and Canadian governments?
Well, we've got to have, our Congress is just sitting on their hands and letting all this happen. They're the people that are supposed to be making the rules, and nothing is happening in our Congress right now. People need to be talking to their Congresses and get this straightened out. This is worldwide now that we're picking on everybody, and it's going to hurt harder than I think it is, especially in agriculture, because we just can't get these markets back that easy. From the last tariff that we had, we were at $7 wheat and it went down in the $2 and $3 range. We're down in the $4 range now, and we still hadn't gotten back our markets that we lost the last time. So that was 5-6 years ago.
So our farmers here, some Manitoba farmers, are feeling cautiously optimistic around Trump tariffs. We're in a different situation, as you've outlined. What adjective would you use for how you're feeling this morning? What word would you use?
Very frustrated. I can see why your farmers up there would be happy with what's going on, because you're going to have an opportunity to have some huge markets that we take up in the world, and good for them if they can pull it off. You know, I've been farming for quite a few 40 years, and anytime we would have a drought like this and there would be a war in another country, like our huge competitor in the Ukraine and Russia, wheat prices would be $20 a bushel. Now we can't even get $4.50 a bushel. Something's wrong with the system. There's something bigger going on than even these tariffs that we need to look into.
Bob, thank you very much for your perspective from the States with us this morning. Appreciate having you on with us.
Appreciate being on. Thank you.
Bob Kalin is the Vice President of the North Dakota Farmers Union. Well, don't miss a podcast, and maybe don't miss a moment, because the situation will unfortunately continue to change, sometimes by the hour, if not by the day. But we appreciate you tuning in and having the earbuds in wherever you are and tuning into this episode of This is Manitoba. If you enjoyed what you heard, please don't forget to like and share.